Public service is important to me because I think it's very important to give back to your community in various forms, and I just chose this avenue. And with deaf people, they need a lot of help, and a lot of times they can't effectively communicate with individuals, and so I think it's my goal, and I think it's why I was put here on earth, is to help them. Anytime I serve, I think that God has just favored me because I live a life that's dedicated to others. When you see that it's like a light that goes off on their face, like that they've understood, it warms my heart. It makes me feel so happy because without us or without interpreters, they wouldn't have that method of communication and they wouldn't be able to understand. So it's an amazing feeling, and I'm always like overjoyed. My mom's a teacher of the deaf, so I sign before I talk. Just growing up, sign language is always a part of me, and my parents are members of this church. And so I always grew up here, and by the age of 12, I was an interpreter. So I started in this ministry, and I started because there were no youth representatives, so we had a lot of young deaf people who weren't being reached to. And so that was my main and my first goal, was to reach out to them. When I won the Jefferson Award in 2005, I was amazed. I guess I always served with no intention of ever being rewarded or being recognized. And I think that's the main point of a lot of people who serve. We just kind of sit in the back and just want to help. So I was honored. I was shocked. I was pretty young at that point, so I didn't really know much about it, so I researched it and I realized how prestigious it was. So I was really thankful. It impacted my service because more people knew about what I could do, and so they asked for help. They contacted the church, so I was able to help and reach out to more people. When I was a senior in high school, I always wanted to go to Spelman College since I was a child. So I went to Spelman College in 2005, and I graduated in 2009 with a degree in biology. A lot of my friends and a lot of people that I'm surrounded by, particularly at the church, weren't really into service. I was kind of in isolation. So when I went to college, I was immersed by all these black women who had the same goals and same interests and same desire as myself. When I went to college, our church is a part of a bigger network, and so I connected with the pastor there, and at that point they didn't have a deaf ministry. So, but there were some people there who had a desire to start one. So with the help of me and some other individuals, we started a ministry there. And at that point, there were no deaf individuals. So each week we had to get up, and it was like we were signing to ourselves. But there's a scripture that I always remember that it says, "Don't be weary in well doing, because in due season you will reap if you faint not." And so I knew that it would come to pass eventually. Maybe 6 months later, we had one person, and then more joined, to the point we had about 10 members. And that's basically that. 10 years from now, I expect to have my own pharmacy that caters to the deaf community. So deaf individuals will be able to know about their medication. And at the same time, I want to be involved in a church so I can interpret in that aspect as well.